progress.
Okay, going to Shabbos Rabbi Sai. Welcome everyone, Bruchim Habayim. We have a lot to do today. We're going to start with the shir on Davar Yafeh B'itai. Firstly, it's Parsha Shemos. So I hope everyone has their Sefer on Shemos. Sefer Magid Rakia on Shemos. It has a lot of good material. It's almost 700 pages of material on Sefer Shemos. So if you don't have it yet, you could go to rabbidg.com, you could order it. You could go to better farm stores near you. Also, you thought you only need Reb Meir for Chanukah time? No, you need it for these parshiyos. On this week's parsha, there's a piece on B'ni B'chayri Yisrael. Then we have a piece on Yetzias Mitzrayim. And then on Shiras Hayam, a few pieces, a Matan Torah. Okay, now we have very exciting announcements before we begin. I'm going to take you to our email. Please subscribe to our email. Go to rabbidg.com and hit the subscribe button, and you'll get our emails so you'll know about upcoming events. So the first upcoming event you need to know about is, for the very first time ever, you like this poster? Miami 5784, Yarchei Kala. We're going to have a Sugyo Yarchei Kala for 2.5 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, March 3rd to March 5th. There's very limited space, so you want to book now. It's going to be learning in the morning and the evening. In the afternoon is time off. There'll be an outing together. There'll be an opportunity to spend time together, davening, learning, and if just to be able to catch up. So if you're currently in Florida and you want to join us, you're more than welcome. If you're in Amsterdam and you want to join us, you could also join us. Wherever you are, you're very welcome. We would love to see everybody. Okay, that's March 3rd to March 5th. Please join us. Let's see, where else are we going? To Italy. Okay, February 17th to the 22nd. We're going to be going to Kvarim of many Gedolei Yisrael, Rabbi Yehuda Ari of Modena, Rabbi Eliyahu Bachur, the Abarbanel, Rabbi Moshe David Valley, the Zera Shimshoin. We're going to go where the Chida was originally buried on his... We're going to be in Italy for the yard side of the Chida. We're going to see Livorno. And many Ramami Pano, Rav Moshe Zakuto. And if you have time, if you see this tower over here, you might want to put a little thing underneath to make sure that it's straight when you get there. We'll see what you could do. Okay, Davar Yafeh B'itai, here we go. So, Baruch Hashem B'siyata D'Shmaya, we completed Sefer Bereshis with a lot of heavenly assistance, and now we begin Sefer Shemos. And it's really amazing that Sefer Shemos and the subject matter of this week's Parsha is not just timely, it's more than timely. It's usually we say that the Parsha is connected to the time of the year. Now we have a rare instance more than that. Not only is the Parsha connected to the time of the year, the Parsha creates the time of the year. The reason why it's this time of the year is because of these Parshiyos. So the Parshiyos in Shemos are not just Yafeh B'itai, but it creates the whole Zman Hashana. Namely, we're now in the Parshiyos of Shovavim. Even if you look in the Ber Hetev, in Siman Taf Reish Pehei, Sivkat on Zayin, Ber Hetev brings that some are noyig, especially in a Ibr year, in a leap year, to establish fast days during on every Thursday, 8 times during the weeks of Shovavim. And the Arizal writes in the Sharuach HaKodesh, Tikkun Chav Zayin, that these weeks are predisposed to be mesakein the Avera of Keri. Which means, just for the sake of clarity, that a man, single, married, has to be careful to guard their eyes and guard their thoughts so that they don't have immodest thoughts and create some kind of emission. Because even that is considered a certain lack of modesty. Okay, I'm just clarifying for those who might not know what this teaching is. And the Jewish people hold themselves to a much higher standard than any other nation, where Hashem demands of us, because we're princes, we're the sons of the king, that we conduct ourselves with the highest level of sanctity. And if a person stumbled in this area, even unintentionally, we try to rectify it during these weeks. Why do we do it? Why do we try to rectify it during these weeks? By the way, we'll see how is it rectified. So simply, the original custom was to fast on every Thursday during these weeks. But it begins the week of Parshas Shemos. It began yesterday. Why? It's an amazing thing. In the slavery in Egypt, the shibud in Egypt, rectified the carry of Adam HaRishon. What does this mean? After Adam HaRishon ate from the Eitz Hadas, he separated from his wife for 130 years. During those 130 years, the Gemara in Eruvin says on Daf Yud Ches that Adam HaRishon saw carry, he emitted against his will. It's a Gemara in Eruvin. And the bondage of the Jewish people that we read about during these weeks rectified Adam HaRishon. And it ended with Ki Sikne Eved Ivri. So we see from the Ber Heitev, quoting the Arizal, that because we read these parshas of Shemos, and we read in these weeks about how Adam HaRishon got his rectification, the reading of the subject matter makes it that these days are more predisposed to rectify the Sinyan. So let's try to explain, because how does the bondage in Egypt in any way rectify Adam HaRishon? So, in the Shar HaKavanos of the Arizal, and the Shar HaPsukim on this week's Parsha, again he quotes Gemara in Eruvin that during the 130 years that Adam HaRishon was excommunicated for sinning, he was Moitzi Zara La'Insai. Yocheved was a tikkun for Chava. That's why Yocheved gave birth to Moshe at 130 years old, connected the 130 years that Adam HaRishon separated from his wife. And amazingly, Moshe Rabbeinu was the Gilgal of Hevel and Shes, the sons of Chava. And when the pasuk says Vatar Ha'isha, it's that very first woman. Which first woman? Chava. Ha'isha asher nasati imadi. She sinned, she caused sin, and now she rectifies it with the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu. Now the Arizal reveals something that of course only the Arizal could reveal. That the souls of Kedusha that were emitted in the carry of Adam HaRishon for those 130 years were reincarnated in the generation of the Mabul. And that's why the generation of the Mabul continued in that path, and they too were Mashches Zaram. And then they were reincarnated again in the generation of the Haflaga, the generation of dispersion. Says Arizal, now we understand why it was decreed on the people in Egypt, on Klal Yisrael, who were the reincarnations of these souls, why they had this bondage, a torture that there was never a torture like this, because this generation of the flood was Mashches Zaram, and they were punished in a flood, so it was decreed again on the Jewish people that their baby boys thrown into the water, like the flood. Now we understand why the boys, because the indictment was on the boys. And then in the Dar HaFlaga, they continued in this path, and they sinned with Levanim. They said, Hava nilbana Levanim. Therefore, Vayamaru es chayim in Mitzrayim b'chomer uvelvanim. An amazing revelation of the Ari. And again in Sharuach HaKodesh, he says that during the time that we read these parshios, it's a segula that a person's tshuva should be accepted for those who fast for the sin of Keri. Therefore, beginning with Parsha Shemos, because at Parsha Shemos begins the Shibud and the Tikkun, and it concludes with Parshas Mishpatim. So Rabbi Say, this is not only a Davar Yafeh Be'itai. This is not just an example where the Parsha is connected to the time of the year. More, the Parsha creates the time of the year. The reason why this time of the year is Mesugal for rectifying this sin is because we read these Parshios. Now, let's take this further. Because if you have any pregnant people in your house, or family members, there's an entire another dimension of Shovavim. The Levush in Siman Taf Reish Pei brings, what's the connection of Shovavim to these parshiyos, especially in Hashana Mu'beres? And I saw this in the writings of Reb Chaim Falaji. He says that because there's an extra month in the year, it could cause some kind of disruption in the reproductive cycle of a woman. There are more miscarriages in a leap year than in an ordinary year. And therefore, they were masaking to fast during these 8 fasts for every Monday and Thursday of a leap year, in order that a woman should not miscarry. So you'll ask, what does praying that women should not miscarry have to do with these parshiyos? Because since these parshiyos talk about the proliferation of the Jewish people, in this week's parsha we read about the population explosion of the Jewish people. Uvnei Yisrael paru, vayishutzu, vayirbu, vayatzmu, v'ma'oid ma'oid. We talk about Klal Yisrael exploding from 70 to 3 million. So therefore these weeks are predisposed to assist the fertility rates and the reproduction of the Jewish people. Therefore Shovavim is dafka these weeks. Again, we see that there's a remarkable connection where it's the parsha that creates that these are the Zman, that this is the Zman of Shovavim. 2 more ideas. We're in Chodesh Teves. Mav Rabbi, even though Moshe Rabbeinu was born in Adar, and when his mother hid him for 3 months, presumably the months were Kislev, Teves, Shvat. So even simply, Vatitz b'nai Shlosh Chadashim presumably is the month of Teves. The Zayar says that it refers to a different 3 months, Tammuz, Av, and Teves, the 3 months that belong to Esav. But either way, whether it's referring to the simple 3 months, meaning Kislev, Teves, Shvat, or Tammuz, Av, and Teves, according to the Zayar, for sure, the last month of his hiding and his protection was the month of Teves. So this is the month of Teves. And so it's very timely to read about Vatitz b'nai Shloisha Yerachim Dafka at this time. And often, Parsha Shemos is Shabbos Mevarchim Shvat. Shabbos Mevarchim Shvat. In fact, this year, it's Shabbos Mevarchim Shvat. Does anybody know, raise your hand if you know, what is the astrological sign of Shvat? A bucket. A bucket. It's very interesting. The Sefer Yetzirah writes, the Bnei Yissaschar quotes it, that the astrological sign of Shvat is a bucket. And it's very, the Leka Midi de Ramizi Ba'iraisa, Moshe Rabbeinu rescues the daughters of Yisroi, and Yisroi says, how do you get her so quick? They said, nah, an Egyptian saved us. V'gam daloi dala lanu. Dala milashon dali. We've already reached the month of Shvat. By the way, the gematria of v'gam daloi dala lanu, Vayashk is Chodesh Shvat, says the Sefer Vayan Shmuel. The Bnei Yissaschar writes an amazing thing, that even though Ein Mazel li Yisrael, you know the Jewish people have no Mazel, that just means we could overcome it. But fundamentally we do have a Mazel. The Mazel of Klal Yisrael is a bucket. And the reason why our Mazel is a bucket is, it depends what you fill it up with. See, there's no inherent force that controls us. It's how we utilize it. So our Mazel inherently is Dali. So the Bnei Yissaschar writes, Yisroi was a very great astrologer. And when his daughters said to him, an Egyptian man saved us, and he also daloi dala lanu vayashkes hatzain, when they emphasized that even though he's an Egyptian, he was daloi dala, and Yisrael said, dala, Dali is the Mazel of Yisrael. Yisrael figured it must have been a Jew whose Mazel is Dali. And therefore he says, Lama ze azavten es ha'ish. Why'd you leave the man? Ish is gematria Shvat. Yisro knew this was a man connected to the month of Shvat, namely Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, so that's Davar, Yafeh, Be'itai. That is our first offering of the day.
Recording stopped.